So the first thing you need to open is your responses sheet in Google Drive. So it should look something like this with all your responses, depending how many you have. So I have 22 responses right here. And the first thing I want you to do is take these responses and put them in order from least to greatest. So if you hit the column they're in, and this little arrow comes up, and you want to choose sort sheet A to Z. So if you do that, you see now they're in order, with 0 being my highest, 0 being my lowest, 8 being my highest number of siblings. All right, now that I have them in order, I'm going to find the mean, median, mode, and range of this data. So Google Spreadsheets, and any spreadsheets, Excel or anything like that, is a giant calculator, and it has set formulas you can use. Anytime you want to use the formula, use the equal symbol. And this one, the mean, another word for that is average. So instead of having to add up all the values and divide by how many there are, this will actually figure out for us. So I select average, just pick the regular average, don't pick any of these other ones, these are different. So I pick regular average, and it wants to know what values, what numbers I want to use. So I want to find the average of all of these numbers. So you click and you drag, and if you need to go back, don't let go of clicking until you're sure you have everything. So now I have everything, so I let go, and I hit enter. And there's my average, my mean, okay? If I want to see more decimal points, I can use this button here. It looks like it's repeating. Yep, 181818. I think 2 decimal points is just fine though, so stick with 2 decimal points. All right, next median. Remember you need an equal sign to tell it you're doing a formula. And then type in median, so I'm going to select this one. And again, pick what numbers you want it to find the median of. And hit enter. And so now it tells me the middle number is 1.5, so it must be right in between this 1 and 2 here. Same with mode, equals, and type in mode, and select again the numbers you want to find the mode for. So which number is showing up the most, and that is 1, which makes sense. I can see a lot of 1s right here. Finally, the range. You'll notice if you start typing in range, there's no formula for it. Because remember, range is the highest number minus the lowest. So I still want my equal sign, right? So make sure that's in there. And you want to equal the highest number. So go click on your highest number. You see how it says B23, which is what this box is, B23, just like Battleship. Minus, so hit the minus sign. So you see I have my minus sign there. The lowest number, and click on the lowest number. So this is doing B23 minus B2. And if you hit enter, you get that response. So I have a range of 8, which makes sense because it's 8 minus 0. All right, so I have my mean, my median, my mode, and my range. You can look at all of them. You can see the little formulas you used up here. Now I want a frequency table. So that's going to tell me for each number of siblings, I should probably add a of in there, number of siblings, the frequency that occurred. So for example, 4 people had 0 siblings, right? So I'm going to put the number options here. I'm going to spell them out, and the reason I'm going to do that is because eventually when I'm doing my charts, this works better. You'll see. All right, so going from 0 to 8, because that's what my range was, even though there are no 6 and 7s, I'm still putting it in there, okay? Because I want to show that there's 0 of them. All right, to find the frequency, you could just count, but I want you to practice using your formula. So remember, you need an equal sign, and we're using the formula count if. Okay, so write count if, and they want the range, so we're counting these numbers, so select the numbers you're counting. Then you're going to do a comma. Then, in quotes, you want to put what it's counting. In this case, it's counting how many zeros there are. So I did my range, comma, and then in quotes, I put a 0. You hit enter. And so it's saying there are 4 zeros. I'm going to get rid of those decimal points because we don't really need decimal points on this one. It's just counting. So watch it again if you didn't get it the first time. Count if. So don't forget your equal sign, count if. Select all the numbers. Make sure you go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. Don't forget a comma. And then in quotes, this time I'm counting the number of 1s. How many 1s are there? 7 1s. There's a lot of them. Makes sense. It's the mode. For 2s, equal sign, count if. Counting these numbers, and I'm only counting them comma in quotes if it's a 2. Count if these numbers, comma, quote 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill those in for all of them. So same thing every time. Don't forget the comma and the quotes. Don't forget your equal sign at the beginning. Don't forget to select your numbers. Make sure you're selecting the correct ones. Don't forget your comma. I'm doing 5 now. These ones are going to be easy because they're going to be 0. COUNTIF, comma 6. COUNTIF, comma 7. And finally, COUNTIF. Almost forgot to pick my numbers. Comma 8. All right, so now we have our frequency chart. We know how many of each number there are. So that's all the data I have to do. Now I just have to make my charts. So you want to select your frequency table, start from the top left, select all of it. Make sure there aren't any extra rows or columns in there that are empty. Some of you are accidentally doing extra rows and columns, and that's going to mess it up. So if you're having problems, make sure there's not a blank row or column in the middle of your frequency table. You see how all of mine is filled in. All right, so once I have it selected, I'm going to go to Insert, Chart, and it gives me some suggestions. So I could use some of these. If you want to select a different one, click on Charts, and you can go find down here. So if you want to, say, the donut or 3D pie chart. So I'm going to use the 3D pie chart. Hit Insert. And then you notice how it's in the way. So if you click on this little triangle, you can move it to its own sheet. So this one, this is nearly done. The only thing I need to do is add a title. Number of siblings. It should have to do with what your survey was about. And then that's done. If you want to get fancy and add a background color or anything like that, you can, but you don't really need to. Make sure these are all filled in. They should be if you properly selected them. So that's one chart. I need 2. So down here you see you can go back to your responses. It's still selected, so just go to Insert, another chart. So this time, let's see. Yeah, I could do that bar chart or that one. Let's go with this bar chart. Insert it. Just like below, or before, move it to its own sheet. And this is pretty much done, except I need to add a title. And I need to label these axes. So this is number of siblings people had. And this would be the frequency that it occurred. So now I have my 2 charts, and to keep these in, you can obviously, if you want to change the color of these, if you don't like this color for some reason, make it a little lighter or something. That's not really doing any different. But you can change the colors, okay? And when the very last thing you have to do, now that you have this all done, is make your paragraph, okay? And when you're making your paragraph, I want you to say something about both your charts, mention them, mention how helpful this is. This one makes it very clear that 1 is clearly the most common number of siblings people have, okay? And to make your paragraph, just go back to your folder and create a document right in that Math 7 folder and just type up what your paragraph is. And that's it.